This, good afternoon, everyone. I am Jill Hawkinson. I am not Stephanie, but I am filling in today for Stephanie, who may join us later, but she's out of her office today. So I volunteered to help facilitate. I am the Community Development Specialist for North Dakota with USDA Rural Development, and I'm out of the Devil's Lake office, and I serve as an advisor to the North Dakota Local Food Development Alliance. So welcome everyone to the meeting. And usually the first thing we do at the meetings is go around and give our name, where we're located at, and then how we're affiliated with North Dakota Local Food. And so we also do a warm-up question, and this month's warm-up question is, what spring vegetable do you most look forward to? And I guess I'll start. Asparagus is always something that I really look forward to in the spring. So with that, Felicity, do you want to go next? And then I'll just kind of call on people.
Yeah. My name is Felicity Merritt. I'm the program manager at Farms. So we do beginning farmer programs and education. I live and work from my home in Fargo, so I work remotely, although I travel throughout the state, especially during the summertime. The spring vegetable that I'm most looking forward to is probably just having fresh leafy greens. I especially love having a little arugula in my salad, so looking forward. Some of that is already a couple of farms I've seen it's already ready for this year, which is exciting.
Thanks, Felicity. Ellen, would you go next?
Yeah, hi, I'm Ellen Knutson Duffy. I'm in Bismarck. I'm a board member for North Dakota Local Foods Development Alliance, and I own a small local foods operation called River Road Gardens, and we've done landscaping, like sustainable landscaping, for 15 years, and I grow pumpkins for the pumpkin patch here in town. And I think the thing I'm most looking forward to, it's not a vegetable, but morel mushrooms. We're almost to the morel season, and I'm really excited about that. We've had good rain for that, so.
Thanks, Ellen. Angie, would you like to go?
My mouse is on the other side of the desk. Sorry about that. So yeah, I guess not a vegetable for me either. I like the edible flowers. So some Johnny jump ups. I didn't get any started and planted quite yet, so I'm not sure if the ones out of the greenhouse are edible. If anybody has any tips on that, would love to know.
Angie, you're with the North Dakota Department of Agriculture. What do you do there, ma'am?
Yep, so I am new to this role. I am the local foods marketing specialist. So I've been here just a little over a month now.
Thanks, Angie. I see Stephanie is there too. I don't know if she can talk or if she just wants to wave. I know she's at appointments, so. Stephanie, we can't hear you. You must be muted. We can come around, but Felicity can introduce you to here. They work together at Farms, so.
Yeah, I'll do my best Stephanie introduction. Yeah, Stephanie's the executive director of Farms, which is that same organization I work for. Also the board chair for the North Dakota Local Food Development Alliance.
Thanks, Felicity. And Stephanie, if your mic works later, just give a holler. Griselda, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, yes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Griselda Hernandez. I am the Executive Director for Souris Basin Planning Council. And so we have strong relationships specifically with farms through our Community Builder program, but also the Alliance as well.
Thank you. Katie?
Hi everyone, I'm Katie Jonke. I'm the Nutrition Services Coordinator at Bismarck Early Public Health in Bismarck, North Dakota. Just work in the area of local foods here in the Bismarck community, support farm to school, local farmers markets, orchard. I guess looking forward to garden peas and carrots this go around. So Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Kitty. Mitch?
Hi, Mitch Culkins, Lake Agassiz Regional Council, Program Manager. And I also have to say, looking forward to asparagus, especially oven roasted. Get the oil in there. It's tasty.
Thank you. Shelby?
Hello, I'm Shelby. I'm the communications coordinator for Farms. I am in Rugby today. I'm honestly just excited for fresh produce of any kind, so looking forward to that this spring and summer.
Thanks, Shelby. Jan?
Yep. Hi, everybody. Jan Stankowitz with NDSU Extension, Community Health and Nutrition Specialist and Tribal Liaison. I'm in Bismarck. And I don't know if this is a vegetable. I feel like it is, but it's one of those funny ones. Rhubarb. I'm ready for rhubarb.
I'm not sure what that's classified as, but I do like that too, Jan. Amanda?
Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda McLean with North Dakota Farmers Union. I am the farm management specialist here, and I've been here for about a little over a year. I am completely new to this call in this group. Kind of was asked by my colleagues to join this, especially since the announcement of the Regional Food Business Center. North Dakota Farmers Union will be the state pilot lead on this, and so I will be kind of the main coordinator that I will be in communication with many of you going forward. So, and I guess looking forward to a spring vegetable. I really love any kind of thing that's fresh, but really, if it's got to be spring, probably fresh rhubarb and fresh strawberries from the garden. I know they're not vegetables, but.
Thanks, Amanda. I did see Sarah joined us, and she may not have gotten in on this. We're just doing introductions quick, Sarah, and then we're finishing with what our favorite spring vegetable is.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah Johnston. I'm with the Northern Plains RC&D. I'm the president of that board, working with Paul Overby. I planted about 500 asparagus last year, so I've been enjoying fresh asparagus at my house.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Sarah. And so I think I've introduced everybody but our guest speaker today. So what we're working on, our regional food business centers is going to be our main topic on the agenda today. We're very excited about this USDA AMS opportunity. And we've got Cheryl Hills on with us today. And Cheryl is with the Region 5 Development Commission out of Minnesota. And as you know, we're going to be a technical assistance partner on this North Central Regional Food Business Center. And Cheryl's going to explain to us what their role is going to be as the lead entity on, I believe, on the overall Minn Kota Regional Food Business Partners. So Cheryl, take it away.
Sure. Hi, guys. It's good to be with you. Thanks for letting me hang out a little bit. It's an impressive group. I love all the different organizations that have come together for farms. It's really cool. I've been with Region 5 Development Commission serving as their director since 2006 for 17 years. I've been totally vested, like many of you, in the space of local foods for all of that time, and prompted us to decide to apply for this. I want to share a document with you. And there are a couple of these documents that pretty sure, by the way, I'm going to start by apologizing up front. I'm relatively sure I'm a reincarnated auctioneer and I talk really, really fast. So I'm going to just apologize straight up and let you know, by the way, I love all the vegetables you mentioned because I have lots of asparagus, lots of rhubarb, and I'm a huge morel fan. So that's all good. But I'm going to share this document, and because I talk so fast, I'll send it out later if you want to review it. There are two documents that I think are really important. One was one that we started to craft in the very beginning called the roles document, and the other one is just recently I've created a talking points, primarily because I got called by Minnesota Public Radio, and well, I'm never afraid to speak in front of a group. That one freaked me out just a little bit because I didn't have my talking points ready. So You can bet your bibby that right after that call, I got my talking points ready. So that's the document I'm going to share with you now, if you don't mind. And those of you who maybe can't see that, we'll make sure you get it via email. The elevator quick and dirty is this visual that we like to share we are called in the eyes of USDA North Central Regional Food Business Center, RFBC, right? And it is a cooperative agreement with USDA. So many of you know what that means. There'll be substantial involvement and partnership with USDA, and they will be hiring a person for each of the regional food business centers across the nation. And so there'll be another specific USDA employee specific for this. You know, the 3 states that are Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota. It's 5-year grant. It is a $15 million award. We asked for 31 million. And we're asked to execute an agreement for 15. But for context, guys, this was a $400 million program out of USDA, okay? And they cut aside, justifiably so. I'm a big RD fan, of about 40 million for admin as they needed it. And then they designated in the NOFA in the very beginning stages, there would be 4 areas of the nation that received up to $50 million each. So start doing the math in your head, and they all received 50 million, which would be Indian Country, Appalachia, Delta, and the southern states, the colonial states of the United States. So we have, you know, about 160 million then that was actually eligible for a competitive proposals. And of that, they received $2 billion in requests. And when you look at the awardees from across the nation who were actually awarded, we are not only the smallest financially, but we're the smallest organization, because we're talking about Texas A&M and all of the California university systems as an applicant, and Michigan State, and just big, and most of them are all universities that were selected. And so this was one of them, Rural Partners, who I love very much, in the Delta region. They have, I think, 45 staff. So it's a big lift. It was quite competitive, and frankly, I didn't give us more than a 40% chance of being awarded. So I was really kind of shocked and excited and afraid all at the same time. One of those jitter dances that turned into a bit of a panic attack towards the end. Like, okay, now we're going to do this. But guaranteed it's going to be amazing. So these are the areas. So the 3 states, and you can see the others. I'm going to zoom in on that so you can kind of see the other applicants and the awardees. University of Nebraska, great people there. Mississippi Delta Council, National Association of State Departments of Agriculture Foundation. It's a lot of big groups. This is available on the USDA website if you Google regional food business centers as well. There's some links on this document that you'll have to the press releases that went out. But basically, I'm going to answer the questions that was asked of me to sort of present to you guys from Ellen in terms of, you know, what was our beginnings in this. Of course, the organizations involved, and then the goals for the future. So this one document covers those things. But in terms of what will actually happen out of this proposal, and at the end of 5 years, and during that 5 years, will be those 3 buckets that you see before you: coordination, TA, technical assistance, and capacity building. So coordination is obviously just that. You could read these later. You're intelligent people, but they're much like they sound. The capacity building is the re-granting portion. So there's 2 sections of this award, which is the technical assistance capacity building. And then there is the technical assistance and coordination in one side of the house. And then the capacity building, which is the re-granting. Of that $15 million, I was committed to writing a proposal, whereas when we split this up, each state would have an equal portion, notwithstanding the size of the state or the number of farmers in each state. So to be more equitable, we just split it to be $1 million a year for 5 years for each state. In that $1 million, in Minnesota and in North Dakota, $200,000 a year will be re-granted to groups, grower groups, others. And in South Dakota, it's about $275 $50,000 a year as a result of the number of technical assistance providers and others that they had from their state that were signing on. So there's a little more money in South Dakota. Just for context, for what this entire initiative was about is the summary on the 3rd page of this document, which is to serve small and mid-sized, please place particular attention to those words, producers, aggregators, distributors, processors, and access points, food access points. So we're talking about farmers markets, food co-ops. When we say access points, you know what those are. On sale farms that do CSAs, other food hubs. Food hubs would be a very strong applicant under access points. It's not restricted to any markets at all. So we can serve the entire value chain, starting from processing, growing, all the way to the end. These are the 3 states, a little more information. And then right here, I've indicated who all of the partners who will be contracted through the Regional Food Business Center as partners, as the Farmers Union indicated. Hold on a second. I want to get it right. Is it Amanda? Because I can't see you. Yeah, it's Amanda. Amanda's team will be doing the coordination of each state in terms of bringing together every other month all of the technical assistance providers and the evaluation consultants in each state, and having dialogue around what's working, what's not working, what are they seeing out there, how can they assist each other. And there will be speakers at each of those calls as well, from not only USDA and the various 88 programs. I tease my girlfriends and guy friends at USDA. They like to think it's 44. Jill, I say this with love, but it's about 88 programs. And so and I've applied for most of them. And so we'll be having those calls, and we're grateful to the farmers unions to be taking what they call a key role in each of the states, as Amanda indicated as well. And so you will have all of the economic development districts. They're called councils in some states. They're called regional development commissions in our state. They're called different things, but that's who will be participating in terms of delivering technical assistance. And then, of course, we have some technical assistance providers that are a little unique. In Minnesota, the Latino Economic Development Corporation. The North Dakota, it's you guys, the Local Foods Development Alliance. And in South Dakota, it's you got to help me with this one. Akipitan, it's a native CDFI. Somebody help me. No? All right, then. We're just going to roll past that, but they're wonderful people. I just can't, I've got to get that one down. So that's who is participating. The evaluation team, so you know what the farmers unions in each of the states are coordinators, that's what they're called. And then there's the evaluators. In this case will be, for us, it's going to be a group called the Creative, in Minnesota, it'll be Creative Community Consulting. In North Dakota, the evaluators will be the North Dakota Women's Business Center. And in South Dakota, it is the Value-Added Agricultural Development Center of South Dakota. That's Sherry Raff. So those are the folks that are involved. There's another document that sort of articulates the roles a little bit better that I want to share with you, because I think that's going to answer some of your questions. Specifically, the Local Foods Development Alliance receives $50,000 a year for 5 years to deliver the role that we're going to talk about in 1 second here. So while I'm opening that up, I'll take a teeny breath and ask, do you guys have any questions about just the fundamental basics of how much money, where is it going, some of that? I'll dive a little deeper into your role.
Cheryl, I have a question about the partners and the funding that's going out, that can go out to, is it going to be individual entities and things like that? Or is there a scoring criteria, or how will they apply for that funding?
Good question. So What Jill's referring to, and a term you'll hear frequently, is called the Business Builder Subawards. That's what USDA refers to them as, and that's the re-granting portion, right, that we were talking about. The Business Builder Subawards, when I initially wrote the application, I wanted to stand up 3 different groups in each state that kind of knew the context of all of our states and the unique attributes of each corner of each state, and had asked the departments of ag. North Dakota's Department of Ag wasn't very interested in that role, Angie, so we moved on to another partner, and there were other partners that kind of picked up those balls. And so we had originally 3 different organizations that were going to put together a 10 to 15 member, very diverse, because this work is very targeted towards underserved, underrepresented communities. And in the narrative, we actually pulled out the zip codes, and frankly, for you guys, quite a few of those communities are in Indian country. And so I asked that we could each have review committees, and they came back to me when they cut us from 31 to 15 and said, no, you need to have one committee that does all of them because you're one center. I said, cool. So now we are going to stand up a one committee, 5 people from each state that will review the applications once a year, the Business Builder Subawards. My team member, Don Espy, I just sent out a very long email with an update on it. I know some of you received that. Stephanie, I wasn't sure if it was you or Amanda or somebody received that. You're welcome to share that. It's public knowledge, and it does share a little bit about the Business Builder Subawards and how we will be compiling right now we're creating the profile of the different types of folks, because we really want minority or emerging farmers, maybe a minority serving technical assistance provider. I'm a firm believer in placemaking, and so I really wanted an artist farmer, because I think artists bring unique perspectives to our world. And so an artist farmer, a person that is really rooted in environmental justice. So that could be an advocate. It could be a soil and water conservation district person. It could be someone else in either a state agency or someone that's a local organization, an NGO that's running. So different types, a tribal representative, specifically because of the zip codes and how we're trying to really serve Indian country through this work as well. So we're creating just sort of types of folks we'd love to see. And then I'm going to send that list out to the farmers unions in North and South Dakota and say, could you please work with your networks and find people that would want to serve on the review committee that fit these kinds of types of roles, right? So that we get real diversity, and frankly, we get folks who might not have participated in this kind of decision making in the past. And that is important. And so we'll send that out, and hopefully they populate that. And then there's not much money for them. There's only $1,000 a year to review the applications for that person, but that's why it can only be once a year too. So we will pay them for their time, not much, but it's a stipend every year. I think that's important. That was a really good question. For the Business Builder Subawards, I want you to note that one of the roles that's different for other technical assistance providers than will be the case for the Local Foods Development Alliance. Do you guys go by an acronym, LFDA? What do you do? Is it say something?
I think
Usually
they've
it's
done both.
NDLFDA. It's
Yeah.
kind of a mouthful. NDLFDA.
Yeah, I'm never going to remember that. So I'm just going to call
It's
you the
okay.
Local Foods Development Alliance for a while till I get y'all down. Because there are 36 partners, and some of you I'm still learning, right? So it was very, very great that everyone literally just stepped up in these 3 states. So that I'm very, very grateful for that. I think it was really wonderful and testimony to the work that you guys are doing already in your state. And that was really important to lift up those that were already doing it. Your role at $50,000 a year for the 5 years is a little different, but some of the other technical assistance providers, like your economic development districts, one of their and again, this ties back to the Business Builder Subawards. One of the roles of the other TA providers is to write proposals for groups. So let's say Extension's working with some folks in a part of the state, and they really need something the Extension or none of the other partners provide. Maybe it's legal services to do a succession plan of a group of farmers that belong to a co-op or something. Maybe it's something for food co-ops in an area, or maybe it's a business accelerator for food, whatever it is. the economic development districts and their contracts with the Regional Food Business Center are required to write proposals, right? First year, they have to write 2, and one of those 2 will be to the Business Builder Subaward pool. The second year, it's 3. The third year, it's 3. The fourth year, it's 4. And the fifth year, it's 4. So there's grant writing to actually get the stuff done. Shelby, were you from one of the economic development districts? Some of you are from economic development districts here. Is it Mitch? Help me.
Mitch and Briselda are both.
Great. Yeah, Briselda and Mitch, thank you very much. So that's going to be our role, right? Is to make sure we're connecting with those groups, figuring out what they need, and then writing proposals. One will be to the Business Builder Subaward every year. So Mitch and Briselda, you're getting an insight to the kickoff that we're going to have in August. You're getting more information than most. So that's right now anyway. But that is articulated in this roles document that has been shared and will be shared with everyone. So there's help for groups, Jill, is my point, to write proposals from the economic development districts to make sure that where additional resources are needed, that there's someone there to assist with that.
That's awesome, because that's one of the biggest challenges I think we have in North Dakota with all of the USDA grants and other funding opportunities that are out there, is that technical assistance to help that application get developed.
Right. And then, and like I've said many times to my federal friends, I write a lot of grants and I've secured a lot of grants. And it's one thing just to write the proposal or convene people together, figure out what they want, write the proposal. But then, you know, that project's going to have problems along the way and they reach back, and or they don't know how to do the reporting because it's complex sometimes and they reach back. And so technical assistance is a whole lot more than just writing a grant. You stick with them forever. And that's why it's got to be local people that have those relationships that are intended to stay in that place. And so that's where I was grateful that these 3 states said, okay, here are the people already doing this. Because trust me, a lot of wonderful, beautiful human beings that work for consultants are coming out of the woodwork. I probably talk to 3 to 4 a week. I got to figure out a better way because I don't have time anymore. But they're good folk and I'm learning a lot, and I'm tapping them into another program. Don't let me forget at the very end to talk about the RFSI, please, because that's really important, how it ties to the Regional Food Business Center. These are the partners. You can come back to that later and you can see the states, the farmers unions, all the folks I talked about, and how we combine the Business Builder Subawards into one group, but will people from each of the states. The roles start with the coordinators, which are the farmers unions, and talks about how they're also going to convene summits. There'll be a summit each year. The first one, it's not called a grounding. I didn't fix this yet. It's actually kickoff summits in each state. Second year will be an in-person, probably held in North Dakota. Third year will be online. Fourth year will be in South Dakota, somewhere like Brookings. And then fifth year will be an online summit. So every year there will be a summit where we get an opportunity to learn from each other, speak to each other, have our evaluation people be listening. You know that half the time the best evaluation is not collected via a survey. It's collected at the water cooler when folks are talking about the real stuff. And I mean, where the sausage making gets ugly. And that's important that we harvest that, right? Because stuff doesn't always go great. And USDA needs to know that too. I have fond relationships with USDA. I treat them like my brothers and sisters. And, you know, we're real with our brothers and sisters. This is the technical assistance providers that are not what the Local Foods Development Alliance will be doing. This is more of the 23 economic development districts. So Briselda and Mark Viuga, this is sort of our role, and Sprout is our regional food hub that has been doing local foods with me in central Minnesota for the last, I don't know, 17 years. So this is what we'll do. We'll attend, of course, the grounding summit, the kickoff. We have to create a regional plan the first 6 months. The districts, which cover every point of all 3 states, will be creating, which I'm creating the template right now, an action plan of what are we going to do as technical assistance providers. But that requires us to pull people together in our regions to understand what they need. So we're talking about, you know, I've created a long list of people they should be inviting to these meetings and participating in trying to determine where are the bottlenecks, what needs to be done, because every region's different, right? Some may have a very robust local foods value chain. Others may be starting it just at the very beginning. So their plans are going to look different. First 6 months that happens. And then we execute action by way of, and again, I know I'm talking fast, but I'm a card carrying groupie of the WealthWorks framework of delivering community development, because it doesn't just measure pounds and miles. It measures cultural, social, political capital, and all the other things that we know are important, like intellectual capital, which is what Extension delivers a lot of the times, and other things, right? So there's, we're going to be utilizing the WealthWorks platform, and all of the TA providers will be learning WealthWorks. The National Association of Development Organizations is bringing in their partners and experts in WealthWorks who trained me about 15 years ago, and will be delivering WealthWorks in each of our states at the kickoff meetings in August. So this is where I was talking about navigating and managing fiscal resources from third parties and writing those proposals. And it tells how much. And it can be from federal, but it can also be from state. And it also can be from philanthropy, if that's where, but the idea is to get economic development districts like us, my sisters and brothers, to some of us have been doing this a long time. Others are just, which is really cool, just kind of starting with the agricultural economy. And I think it's going to create a systems change if we all start to understand it as a robust economic engine to our regions, and we're all figuring out what our roles are to help. Because when we started in this, there certainly wasn't any money out there. So they'll be doing that, and they will actively participate in other things like the calls that I mentioned that the farmers unions will be hosting, the summits that will happen annually, and then they have some reporting to do, of course, right? Because this is a federal award, via surveys, questions that'll talk about not only what's happening with the people they're delivering technical assistance to, but how is it changing the culture of their organization as well, as far as how they think about serving the agricultural businesses like Ellen's Farm, Ellen's Place. So this is where you guys come in. The Local Foods Development Alliance, along with these others, has a little different, more advisory, less, I would say, direct, although it is relatively direct, so I don't know what words to use. With attending the summits, the grounding summits, this kickoff summits will be important. Participating in outreach to help people get to this the meetings to do the action plans. So it would be really important to just try to make sure we get to those really underserved folks. If you have, for instance, in my region, I have a wonderful group of agua gorda growers, Latino growers that don't always get a chance to participate. So we hire interpreters because they're limited English speaking residents, and we bring those folks to the table and make sure they're involved. So that's a big part of what you guys will do, is to help get people to that meeting that your economic development districts across your state are going to be hosting in each of the regions, which is a big lift, by the way. But I know I heard many of you, when you introduced yourselves, you have statewide roles, you have statewide capacities, departments of health, departments of agriculture, extensions. You guys serve the state. So hopefully you've got colleagues in your house that can help also bring folks to these regional meetings, particularly for the economic development districts and the other TA providers that have not been as involved in this industry. They're just not going to know where those pockets are of people. So maybe not. I would love that these folks also attend and secure a speaker to present on the value chain cultural topics at each summit. So if there is, oh, by the way, so in the application and all these documentations, you'll see the word Minn Kota. I titled it, I thought I was being clever, and I so wasn't. It was supposed to be Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota, obviously, but I did not know there is and I Googled it, they didn't show up, but there's a utility in North Dakota that's called Minn Kota. They didn't like this, and they said cease and desist. So it's going to take me a while to not call it Minn Kota, but you'll see it in the documents for a while until it gets eradicated. But I asked him to come up with a better name, and that didn't resonate well. So with love, I say, fine, whatever. So anyway, so finding a speaker that can really talk about how to bridge difference, and difference being an asset in our states, and understanding that our demographics are changing and that the future workforce is not going to look like it does currently today, despite where our politics may or may not be. It's not relevant. That's demographics. That's for sure going to be the case. And so thinking about how do we learn how to make sure that we understand cultural difference as an asset. And so that's going to be a fun niche for you guys to think about who might be speakers at the summits, either in person or online with your collective group. That's a deliverable that will be in your contract. It would be great if you could help us, as I talked earlier about the Business Builder Subawards, find one of those people on the review committee. And so the Farmers Union, Amanda might want to take note of this one, to reach out to this group on trying to fill some of the names of the types of folks we're looking for across the state. So that would be a role that it will be a deliverable on the contract as well. And help is just the word help, right? If you can't do it, you can't do it. We'll find people, but it's do what you can. I'm surmising you guys know lots of folks. E is ensuring that we collect surveys, and this is not so much from the technical assistance providers, but it's more so from folks that receive the Business Builder Awards. So those grants can go up to $100,000. We thought we'd try to cap them at 50 so that we can give more grants out, but I don't want to do little baby grants. I'm not doing $5,000 grants ever again in my life. That's just a big waste of time. And I don't expect them to either, even if they're farmers. It's just a big waste of their time. So let's do something real where they can maybe have some money to do something. And so 50 would be the lowest. We would want to go, I mean, that's the high that we were kind of marking. We can go to 100, but boy, 2 a year just doesn't feel very great. I digress. So one of the roles for Local Foods Development Alliance will be to help make sure that we get surveys and responses back from them. The evaluators of each state are also going to be doing I call them story circles, but I do understand that's a very hippy dippy planner thing to say. It's where they're interviewing people to figure out whether this money actually had an impact with them, or it was helpful to their business, was helpful to them or not. So that's helping us get to those folks to make sure that we can get that data and we can get their qualitative assessment of this whole entire program. The other thing that would be really great, this is a fun one for you guys to talk about in your team as well as the Local Food Development Alliance, is one recorded Zoom. I am positive that you all deliver workshops, gazillions across the state over a year. And so collectively, is there one that hits this mark, this small to mid-sized value chain folks that we could promote to all 3 states? So that's the intention. That's why there's one of you for in this role for all 3 states. So for instance, the Latino Economic Development Corporation will do a workshop and we'll promote it across the 3 states through the Regional Food Business Center. It'll be in Spanish, right? So they'll deliver it in Spanish so that it can be very unique. But that's the request, is one recorded Zoom a year that we can promote to all 3 states, which would be really cool. And then there's, the additional duties assigned by our superiors, which are these things that are always in our resumes or in our job descriptions. Attend the calls, do reporting, etc. This document has the roles of everybody. So I only really went detailed because I don't want to go, I'm tired of talking. I threw more as this monitoring and evaluation. You'll see what they have to do. You'll see what our role is. The capacity builder, the business builder subawards are there. I'm pretty sure I've shared that roles document, Stephanie, with you and with Ellen, right? So those 2 documents, talking points and roles, can be shared with anyone. Please help protect my tailbone and put in your email that Minn Kota will be removed from this at a further date. It hasn't been struck yet, just to protect ourselves so we don't get in trouble. That's a little bit of it. There is an awful lot to do. I think you saw that the I mentioned the person that will be hired for us to help us connect more. I think that's cool. But even without that person, I would be picking up the phone and calling USDA if I thought any of us needed something. I will be in each of the regions across all 3 states once a year. I've kind of cut out about a month and a half, just to make sure there's a lot of hands-on to really problem solve, work through, visit with any of the regions that need and want time. So maybe sitting with, you know, Urselda and Mitch and others in their regions to say, where are there any hiccups? Are there things that, you know, we can like ideate around and problem solve around and find resources? You're fortunate to have this group, because hopefully you'll also be able to lean into the other technical assistance providers through farms and through this group to be able to assist them, right, to where they're getting maybe a little bit challenged, because it can seem daunting at times. The other thing I wanted to add to you, I know we wanted to get out of here before the top of the hour, so I'm going to talk extra fast, is the RFSI. So the RFSI, I think it stands for Resilient Food Systems Infrastructure. I'm not positive. I think that's it. But when we had the webinar where they were announcing that they're going into contracts negotiation with the 12 of us across the nation to be Regional Food Business Center fiscal administrators, they announced the RFSI. Turns out none of the departments of agriculture really knew too much about the RFSI at that point in time when it was announced. The RFSI is a $400 million, another $400 million program that will be coming, dollars will be coming directly to the departments of agriculture, the state departments of agriculture. And their program is very, very similar to the Regional Food Business Center. And so in the RFSI package that's coming to the state commissioners of the departments of agriculture, that package says, and Angie, I don't know who is going to be getting it at your house, but it usually goes to the marketing department or that type of department. But your commissioner will receive it first, and then they'll figure out where it goes. And then they have until August 12th to respond. And it's formula based to figure out what each state will get. I learned from my Department of Agriculture, which I have a very, very close relationship with, that they're receiving $12.5 million, which is a hell of a lot more than we thought. We thought it was going to be $2 million. And frankly, they're so inundated with money and programs right now that even $2 million is going to be a lift. But now they've got quite a bit more. I don't know how much North and South Dakota is going to receive. But the one thing that they have to respond in their proposal back to USDA is how will they work with the Regional Food Business Center, because they are delivering 2 exact same buckets: capacity building, re-granting, and technical assistance. Now they can hire people within their state departments of agriculture if they so choose. I'm advocating heavily in the state of Minnesota that if they need to do that for one person, great, but it would be really great if they took the funds and they contracted with other people that weren't part of our consortium that are doing amazing work. For instance, extensions, or looking at other groups that could do work. One group specifically, legal services. Can we help farmers pay for legal services for succession planning? I run a program through the Minnesota legislature for 2 psychologists that work with farmers who are suffering from depression in our state. And those psychologists that I visit with monthly tell me that the biggest reason for depression and suicidal attempts are because of succession planning and not having resources to pay for the attorney's fees. And so it becomes a very family stress point, right? And so I'm really focusing that they hire somebody to do that kind of work for farmers and food and for co-ops that maybe want a group of people that want to create a cooperative, right? That the legal services are there for them. Some things that none of us provide that's showing up as a need to our value chain. But you have the opportunity to advocate with your your friend Angie and whoever else at North Dakota Department of Ag that's going to be submitting a response to USDA on what you think would be really cool as far as the dollars that they spend for technical assistance. They can write in who they would provide, and they will also have to do a competitive process for some of the monies for technical assistance providers. That I know. Then the regranting portion, what I do know for them is that they can go $100,000 to $3 million grant. That is going to be probably, because of the Justice 40 focus that this administration will be, higher awards will really be targeted to BIPOC, LGBTQ, veteran, other minority or disability status networks or groups, not individual farms, but multiple impact at the highest need. That's what I hear from USDA. But I say this to my USDA friends too, they're creating it as they fly it too. So it could change. This too can change. So we will give grace. But that's what I know as of now. So we're just trying to, in Minnesota, frame up what, if this is exactly what that package looks like, what we're being told, that we're working with our friends at our Department of Ag to figure out how we think it could best serve people in our state. That's what I have. Questions? I did
I
put
have
in
a
that
question.
mission. Yes, ma'am.
With the Business Builders Subawards for our region, do we have any parameters in place, or will that be developed as we work together?
So there are some, what I do, good question, Ellen, what Don Espy of my team, and it's in that long email that I sent out, is developing that criteria right now. Well, one thing we do have to do that I'll be signing, because I did get to see the draft cooperative agreement, obviously, and I've signed those before, but we have to adhere to everything we had in our application, of course, right? As far as what that said. And what that said, just so you know, some of that criteria is that there would be higher priority for anything that would serve multiple points versus one. So several food co-ops or several farmers markets or whatever, right? It can be, so there are some additional points, scores for things that we highlighted in the narrative like that. And that's just an example. But the funds can be used for a lot of stuff. And that's why I need to do a web. It can be anything from land to equipment to technical, more different types of technical assistance than when they're receiving. It can be for, well, any of that. Working capital. So infrastructure, working capital, research. It could be for a group of specific growers that need to do some science and create recipes for value-added commodities, right? And so it's pretty broad. But we're getting that down now. And Ellen, to answer your question, what we will do is draw up what we said in the narrative first, because that's what I'm signing, and we will do what we say. And then the other things that we've been thinking about will be part of that evaluation framework for the Business Builder Subawards. And then we will share that with each of the states. The farmers unions will take that draft to those monthly or quarterly meetings with the technical assistance providers and with the evaluation folks and say, what do you think of this? What works, what doesn't work? What I won't do is a separate thing for each state. That's not going to work. So it's got to be consistent. And so what might be really cool in one state, if it's not applicable to the other two, we're going to have to find common ground. So does that answer your question, Ellen? I'm not sure.
Yeah, definitely. My follow-up question is, as NDLFDA active members, would they in any way be excluded from applying for that, since we are an active member of participating membership, even though I think it'll mostly be the board interacting with
Who's your guys'
plan.
Who's the staff? It's where'd she go? Stephanie. It's Stephanie. And
we don't really have staff.
Yeah.
Technically, we have there's board members, working board members, and then we contract some of the work with farms. So Felicity and some of Stephanie's staff helps us out. Yeah.
So when you get your contract, you'll have to decide how much, what I have to have in order to pay that $50,000 a year to be, I know I'm jumping from your question, Ellen, but I want to remark
That's
this
okay.
is, it is a flat rate of that $50,000 a year. And I'm going to look up what your billable rate was because it's different for some. And I'm not collecting time cards. There will be a system that I've used with other national things that we've fiscally administered. You'll keep those time cards. So whether it's you or the other board members that are working on it and whoever gets paid, like those time cards are kept on the back side, and only if we're audited by USDA do I ask for those.
Okay, great.
But it is a flat rate. Like there's no indirect. I don't care about your fringe. I don't care about the travel. It's like, this is the amount, end of story.
Yep.
And I don't want you to say, well, I didn't use all these hours this month, or this quarter, because it's a quarterly billable. Can we put more on to next month? No, work that out on your own end.
Yeah.
I want the same amount.
Too much for
every
you
month.
to manage. Yeah.
Right. With 36
We got
partners.
it.
More than USDA is managing with their 12. So your billable rate was $75 as well, billable an hour. So we do the math and we figure out how many hours, and there'll be a template that comes to you guys. You sign it, comes back, and we submit the check. And then you guys can figure out through your system who's going to get what in terms, since there isn't a centralized staff, if that's farms or if that's individual board members. To answer your question about conflict of interest. So Ellen, if you were to come and this is good to know, if you were to come and have one of the economic development districts or whoever write a grant to the Business Builder Subaward for some really cool thing that you wanted to do, let's say it's a tractor, or let's say it's a deep winter greenhouse. You want a deep winter greenhouse. It probably wouldn't score very high for your farm to be receiving monies for a deep winter's greenhouse, right? Because that would be public money for private sector gain of one entity versus public money for public good. So I would ask, if I was a district, if I was Mitch or Griselda, I'd say, Ellen, can we find other folks that could benefit from this deep winter greenhouse? Can it be a shared entity type of thing? Or if it's a tractor that's going to be shared, like the Black Women Farmers Group in Southern Minnesota shares a tractor. Hmong farmers do the same thing with equipment. Something like that where there's multiple, then yes. And because, to answer your question, you wouldn't be the only benefactor on that proposal to the Business Builder Subawards, it wouldn't be a conflict of interest. If you were the only applicant to the Business Builder Subawards and you were receiving income as a technical assistance provider through any of that $50,000 a year, that might trigger some eyebrows, right? And so
that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So you'd want to partner with somebody to do something that would be, or it could be, hey, we're going to do a pilot and we want 3 deep winter greenhouses and we want extension to gather all this data and it's going to be a pilot across the state, whatever. Then it's more than one, right?
Yep. Cool. Yeah, I find that in North Dakota, we're a small state, a small population, and people doing this work are doing it in a lot of areas, and a lot of times they're growers, and a lot of times they're also on, working for the Department of Agriculture. So we've had some out-of-state programs that don't always acknowledge that or remember that we're all working together because we're a small group of people.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea to just team up with others, but you're small but mighty. You guys got this. Is going to be fun.
Yep. Cool.
Other questions?
Cheryl, I saw the email with all of the potential dates for the kickoff meetings, and wanted to clarify that everyone who will be working on this as a partner will be attending those kickoff meetings. Are those intended to bring all of the stakeholders within each state together?
Yeah, Griselda, that's a good question. So the kickoff, yes. So you guys will be 8/16 on the date?
Yeah, so it looks like it.
We'll be doing it in Jamestown, and the North Dakota Farmers Union. Thankfully, Amanda is going to help host that at their place. Very excited. Yes, all of us are provided. I thought it would be cool if all 3 states could be together. but there's just too much to do in that first 6 months to manage that. And so I
Yeah.
thought I want to make it easy for you guys traveling. And I recognize I don't have extra dollars for the travel like I did in the $31 million. So I'm trying to keep you close to your, home. I know that the states are long in North and South Dakota. So those that are on the west side are still going to travel. How many hours is it from end to end horizontally?
About 5 hours, 5 to 6.
Yeah, that's a lot. See, and so I'm sorry about that. So where is Jamestown? I'm sorry for my ignorance. Is it centrally located? No.
It's south centrally located. So it's like halfway between Bismarck and Fargo.
So the northern part of the northern part of the state would probably have to travel the farthest.
Yeah, the furthest would be probably the Tri-County Regional Council, which would be Everett out of Williston, I think, from all of the identified stakeholders. So to follow up on that, are you anticipating, because we've had, and pardon me, I haven't been very active until this
Totally
meeting. That's, I
cool.
wanted to attend it on this. Is including like marketing and announcements that funding was allocated to this. Do you anticipate each state kind of coordinating separately on their own until then? So a follow-up question to that. Someone reached out to me asking, should we be bringing everyone together to see if we can do one announcement and mention all of the partners, or is each region kind of taking care of their own? Do you anticipate coordination taking place within each state on some of these kind of side items before that kickoff meeting?
So marketing and communications, I think, is what you're talking about, Briselda, right? And that,
Yes.
and yes. So until I actually have a contract with USDA, I've been a little bit tentative been a bit of a cluster, to be really honest, on the front side right now. So we did a press release, but I sent it out to all of you and I said, look, take out my quote, put in something like, hey, we're part of this and we're going to be serving our region as this, or the Farmers Union could say, we're going to be the coordinator across the state, and like could have put some quote in there and then put out your own press releases. But the way that the attorneys at USDA wrote their press releases, it was wonky and it was funky because they've been sued a boatload this year because of the Black farmer reimbursements, and they're very, very tentative, and their attorneys are extremely very tentative. And so the language was that we're a finalist. So even your state directors are emailing me saying, are we in or are we out? What the hell's going on? I'm like, look, they're CYAing because if I don't get my paperwork back into them, then they can obviously not execute a contract. And then we're not going to sue them because they said we were a finalist. And so it's just legal crap. But, and so I've been really tentative, and that's why the press release coming out has been really sort of like lukewarm and not really coordinated and not a big shebang. It's like, usually there'd be, fireworks, right? But until we execute a contract, I sort of been waiting a little bit on that. To answer your question, one of our roles, we will be standing up since we can't call it Minn Kota, a North Central Regional Food Business Center website. There will be a site, and there will be templates for us in the future, much, much more organized, that the graphic art side will be done, and the specifics for each either region or state will be customized from somebody in your states, right? So likely that's going to end up being the Farmers Union to say, yeah, we'll post that, and here's how it looks in our state. But I know that's not a very good answer to your question of whether you should be coordinating in your state.
Yeah. And honestly, if I guess I didn't want to be a delay. Like if everyone else was kind of taking their initiative, we're okay where we're at. We're definitely in no rush. And I'd rather it be a unified effort with a similar image and feel to it than not. I just wanted to make sure we weren't behind. Or
you weren't behind. You're fine.
Okay.
You're absolutely fine. Everybody's, they're all, that's why I sent out the email, a very long one, because I think they're like, what's going on? What's going on? So just to kind of tell them, hey, we're doing a lot of back end stuff right now. We're designing the business.
And trust me, we know you are, so we appreciate it.
It's okay. But there
appreciate all
will
the
be a lot more
information.
coordination at some point in time on the outreach and the communications. Angela is working on a lot of templates right now to be able to make it easy, right? Without also trying to be restrictive if somebody else wants to put their logo on something and says something. Just CYA, and always put the USDA statement on there that,
Exactly. Mhm.
yeah, this do not, blah, 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 you know, that stuff, that protects them. And we'll
Has
do that. I know
everybody
you gotta
seen
go.
the USDA press release? Has everyone seen that? What came
Yes.
out? Okay.
And then my next follow-up question, I'm just curious, and again, maybe I'm jumping the boat here, but since I have the Alliance here, and maybe they'll provide some input. I know you work a lot with farms, especially contracting and doing some of the work. You know, and Cheryl, when we initially were engaged in this and from the beginning, if we're interested, my whole thought process, at least at Service Basin, was we would rather work with an entity that's doing some things in some capacity with because we're not the experts of everything and we have our strengths. So we would be looking into contracting. So would it be a I guess, would it be a red flag or maybe a good thing to work with the same organization in a technical assistance capacity? So I'll just throw you an example. I don't know if the Alliance has any ideas of, since you are 100% volunteer run organization, if you're looking at working with farms on this and expanding contracts. I don't know if that discussion has taken place. We haven't discussed it, but it sure has crossed my mind, specifically for our region for this. So is that a no, or is that a great if you can unite efforts?
Are you asking me or asking Felicity?
Specifically you, Cheryl, but I
Okay,
don't know
great.
if the Alliance
So
has had any thought on that.
I've talked to USDA a little bit about what the terms that you're talking about, Priscilla, is subletting. So I'm gonna have a contract, right, with Local Foods Development Alliance that says you're gonna do these things that we went over in that document, the roles document, right? And yet I'm also gonna have a contract with you that says that you will provide technical assistance. And then that includes that grant writing piece of it, right? And so Priscilla may say, well, wait up, Cheryl, I don't have the capacity for that. I'm not sure I can do all that grant writing. And first of all, I've never done grant writing for Local Foods. I'm not sure how to do this yet. So I wanted you to be able to subcontract, and I think you can still, but I'm getting a final review right now from the USDA attorneys, because if you subcontract out, sublet this agreement, you might, because the person that you would hire, although in this case it's farms, so it's, forgive me, it's getting a little bit incestuous and I have to think about it. If it wasn't farms who wasn't, and you wanted to contract with somebody else, it wasn't in the application, you might have to issue an RFP to be in compliance with with procurement. So I'm trying to get that work through as to whether or not you can contract with somebody without doing an RFP, but I don't know that yet. So I'm looking into that, but I'm hoping that there's enough staff time in each of the economic development districts to put a person on to be able to, if they want to subcontract out some of it, great, but I would really love the districts to still have a person that is connected to this work, because one of the long-term impacts that we hope to have, which is a question that Stephanie asked me to cover and Ellen asked me to cover, is really about a cultural and a systems shift about who else is in this space. And life after $15 million. Like 10 years ago when we didn't have a dime and we were still writing grants for local foods work and built a very, very robust local foods value chain. I know we're over time, but I think there's going to be a piece of re-granting that you can do to answer your question. I hope it's not all of it. I hope that you can retain some of those dollars and have a person that's involved from the districts. And then it would be really wonderful if you didn't have to do RFP, but you might have to, per what the attorneys at USDA tell me.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, obviously there's still a lot to navigate and learn, and until we can come to a decision, I guess in my end, we're all about, and clearly we're all about collaboration. We're also all about playing on key strengths and knowing that workforce is such a huge issue right now. So how can we best tap into the strengths that we already have and relationships we have? So I don't necessarily see, here we go, I'll just throw farms because you're here and we love you. Here you go, farms. Here's your subcontract, and we're going to walk away. I definitely don't envision that. I envision Service Basin playing a key role in this field, but more of just leveraging those partnerships and accepting where we're good and where we need capacity and assistance. So if anything, I envision more of a contract to have them help build the infrastructure for our region.
Sure.
So that looks like in the future, like a Service Basin help support staffing to help this in the long term. We're able to build it within our infrastructure, and farms plays a critical role in that. So I appreciate the info on that, and look forward to our future meetings.
So long as you collect all the time cards from those folks that you subcontract with, we're golden. I think that's going to be easy breezy. But guys, I want you to know my cell phone number is on my signature block of my emails. It's also on our website at region5.org. It will be eventually on the North Central Regional Food Business Center website. I got to go talk to FEMA right now and dig into their pockets a little bit. And so I love visiting with you all, and please call me. I'm a grandma, and the only time I won't pick up is if I'm with my grandbabies, and otherwise I'm all yours. So call me anytime. Okay.
Thank you,
Cheryl.
Cheryl. We really appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah. You guys take care of yourselves, and thanks for your great work. It does matter. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know we went a little over here, but I think it was important for us, especially with this new opportunity that we're involved in now, to be able to have that chance to visit with Cheryl and find out more about what's going to happen with this regional food business center. There was just one other item we had on the agenda, real quick, the North Dakota Farmers Market grants, and I don't know if Felicity is still on with us. There's Felicity. She's recording, so.
I put a link to all the member updates in the chat just so that we don't have to go through everything, but there's a couple recent ones. If you guys have time to go look at those, share them out. The big one was the North Dakota Farmers Market and Growers Association has grants open for local farmers, and these are really accessible grants, $300 to $500 just for supplies associated with vending at farmers market, for farm to school, and just a couple different accessible programs for small farmers. So if you guys are able to share those out, and then look through the other member updates on our page as well, and share them with anyone who might be interested.
Thanks, Felicity. Is there any other closing comments or updates that anyone wants to share? I think it was a very productive meeting, and I know we lost Stephanie, but they did a great. I want to thank her and Ellen again for lining up Cheryl to come and speak, because it was very, very relevant topic, and appreciate everybody who joined us. And I know Felicity taped this, so it'll be on the North Dakota Local Food Development Alliance website. So if you know members that missed and they want to hear more about the Regional Food Business Center project, just have them look it up on the website. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Jill.
Thanks for hosting, Jill.